Kumite Radio. Today we have the voice of Pancrase, Stewart Fulton. It's been a long time. I've been trying to get you on. You're a busy man. You're all over the place. Welcome to Kumite Radio, man.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we've been talking for a while now. This last couple of years since I started with Pancrase and everything else kicking off has been hectic, but in a good way. It's good to be busy.
Oh, no doubt. The more busy you are, or the busier you are, the better your life is probably going, right?
Exactly, especially when you're doing the kind of stuff that you love to do, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man. First of all, with the whole Pancrase commentating, you are, known around the world, I guess. Did you expect that? Like, did you expect people to kind of reach out to you and, give support to what you're doing with Pancrase?
I guess not at all, no. I mean, obviously, I always knew, well, for the last 20 odd years, I knew how big Pancrase was. You know, if anybody was watching the evolution of MMA, how it started and some of the founding roots, they knew Pancrase. But no, I never really thought that it would be any kind of platform.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, screaming, and especially on Twitter, they want you to be the commentator for RIZIN. And I know you've talked to those guys, and can you kind of break down like what happened with that? Is because you, of course, obviously you haven't been commentating for them, so what's going on?
That's right. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's been 2 years with Pancrase, and in the last 2 years, we've seen the conception and the rise of RIZIN as such. And so I've been here for a while now in Japan. So I thought it was a reasonable reach out, a reasonable ask to, put it to RIZIN. I'm here. I know the scene. I know the people. How about it? So yeah, I thought that would be a good thing to aim for. I had some support from people I don't even know, on Twitter. So that was great. That was fantastic. That they enjoyed the Pancrase shows and they enjoyed the resurgence of JMMA to the world in an English format.
Yeah, like I started covering MMA, but I've been watching MMA since the beginning, right? UFCs and of course Pancrase. Because of the UFC, Pancrase was introduced to me, when they used to wear the boots and everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and and I started covering the sport a few years back, and because of that, Pancrase was reintroduced because I didn't watch it for a long time, right? It kind of went dark for a while because of, I guess, pride and all that stuff, right? So with the Fight Pass, they're them working with the UFC on their Fight Pass outlet, it kind of made it easier for people to watch Pancrase, and then voila, Stewart Fulton is there doing the commentating, and then we're like, who's this guy with the English accent? It's not an English accent, right?
No, it's a Scottish accent.
Scottish accent.
It's not as thick as it is when I speak to my family or friends or when I go back home, but obviously, for obvious reasons. But it's a northern accent.
Oh well, hey, it's something new, it's something refreshing to listen to, and then your shit, right? You know about everything. So let's get into it, right? Let's get into Pancrase.
It's funny that you say that though, because when I first started off, when you listen to other commentators and other people around the world working for different organizations, obviously the American accent is the standard, that's the norm. So I actually thought that it might go against me at first. I thought that, if they're like, what was he saying or what was he talking about? Or, if they didn't understand, I kind of thought it might be something negative, but I'm really glad that it's turned out to be something positive.
For sure. And also your partner in crime, Guy, He does a
Yes,
great job. Shout out to Guy. Guy's
he
been on the
does.
show
Yes,
before.
yeah. Not only is he an absolutely fantastic featherweight fighter, but he's just an awesome guy, and he's a really important piece in the puzzle of the Pancrase commentating.
For sure, you guys do a very good job going back and forth, and that's hard to find, I think, because I see a lot of promotions. They'll have a few commentating crews, and they'll cut one guy and introduce another guy, and then that guy is better than the other guy, and they cut him, and then all of a
Right,
sudden there's like 6 different guys after 10 different shows. So you
right,
guys have
right,
been
right.
doing great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and yeah, since Guy and I started off, yeah, we've managed to evolve and find our groove together, and yeah, when you're sitting there, not just talking to somebody for that period of time, but calling a show, something as big as Pancrase, for 5 hours, you really have to get into each other's groove, and find it a way to make it work.
For sure, it is something very difficult, and I think commentating is one of the hardest jobs because you have to be in the moment every single moment. It's like there's no break time, right?
Yeah, it's mentally and emotionally quite exhausting.
For sure. Now, before we get into the Pancrase and JMMA, RIZIN, even Deep, there's so much going on in Japan, right? Right now, it's like I talked to Instant anyway, and I was like, hey, there's a rebirth, and this rebirth is just coming so fast in Japan, right? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, in a way, but I think that's a superficial reaction.
Hmm.
In all honesty, it's always been there.
Hmm.
It's like I don't know. Take an analogy of hip hop. Breakdancing went away and came back. But if you ask any breakdancer across the world, it never went away. So it's the same with mixed martial artists out here. Yes, Fuji TV pulled the plug on the money that was going to Pride, and that died. K1 had its troubles, and that died. But it doesn't mean it went away. It was still here. It was still going strong. And those who love it, who live it, who progress it, were always there. They never went away. It's just now that you have it in the limelight again. The average Joe Public are talking about it like they used to talk about Pride or K1, even though they maybe didn't know the specifics of the martial arts themselves. But you have a resurgence of gyms popping up all over the place. I mean, there's gyms all the time opening up of guys that have, either finished fighting or they're still fighting. They've come from other gyms, they've split off. So there is a visible resurgence for sure. But the heart, the core, it never went away.
Who do you think in Japan like kind of carried that torch? Like was the heart? What gyms? Certain gyms. I'm pretty sure there's a few gyms out there that never died, that continued to produce great fighters. Can you name some of those gyms?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking resurgence of RIZIN, that's a different story. But if you're talking about the heart, the core, the grassroots, as it were, gyms like AACC, Abe-san, Tribe Tokyo MMA, Ryo Chonan, Shinjuku Hearts, Kenji Osawa, and a bunch of other gyms, really, to be honest. Brave Gym, run by Miyata-san. There's a whole host of others. I mean, I don't want to get into shout outs here, but there are a whole host of others. And you have to remember that the core of the Wajutsuki Shukai gyms, it factionalized some years ago. So it's no longer a single unit providing fights from Cage Force and whatnot. But they factionalized and they formed other gyms that are still alive. So although Wajutsu Keishukai is not one single unit anymore, it's still in separate satellite units, as it were, that are not under the same tent anymore. So it's more than just a few gyms. It's a whole network.
And it has been producing some of the best fighters in the world now, that you get to see them, in Pancrase, in RIZIN, in Deep, and a bunch of other promotions. Shudo is still around, like it's endless, right? It's amazing how many promotions there are in Japan now.
Yeah. When you start to dig deep, it's like, there's this, and there's this, and there's this which is related to this, and this which is an offshoot of this, and it goes on and on. Yeah,
it's like a family tree.
Yeah,
just continuous.
Yeah.
Now with Pancrase, right? I wanted to talk about the first off is the welterweight division, because right now the welterweight division, there's no champion. The champ, Daichi Abe, he signed with the UFC. He took off. He's over there, competing with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think, or do you know anything? Like, is there a title, fight coming up in the welterweight division?
Well, yeah. Daichi Abe moving to the UFC, vacating the King of Pancrase belt in the welterweight division. It's left it's left a gap, and it's left a gap which is unlike some of the other divisions, which are a little bit deeper. The welterweight division is deep enough, but there's only a few that could be considered worthy of title shots. Takashi Sato, he's in there. He's in the mix. He's another Tribe Tokyo MMA fighter. He's fierce. He's big. He's strong. He's young. He's hungry. He doesn't hold back. He doesn't give a shit. So yeah, he's a force to be reckoned with, without a doubt. So in the last Pancrase 293, which was our first show in Studio Coast, we had a welterweight fight, which was basically to see who was worthy of facing Sato for the welterweight King of Pancrase. Hiroki Tetsuka, Hiro, the last samurai, he's been looking great, and this was his biggest test ever in the last Pancrase. He fell just short to the Brazilian. So we basically it looks like we're going to see Takashi Sato versus this new name, Brazilian. And as you know, even in Korea and Japan, foreign fighters get a kind of special glitter about them. They're
for sure
foreign. They come from the West. They're strong, and that's a big thing out here. It's a big thing to take on somebody like that. So the welterweight division is looking quite interesting, and that title match could be outstanding.
For sure. Like recently, in the past year, maybe even more, almost every single title fight has been bonkers. Like it's just crazy, especially the last one for the flyweight title with Senzo. Man, Senzo is a beast.
Yes.
Right, coming back. Let's talk about that. You were there. You called that fight. You said that fight is one of the best, probably the best fight that you've ever seen in person. Tell me why.
Let me give you a little bit of insight here. In Japan, adult diapers outsell baby diapers. Watching that fight, calling that fight, made me think that I was very close to needing adult diapers. It was just it was phenomenal. Not just the way he won, the comeback and the knockout win, but the heart that both of those guys showed, the warrior spirit, what you have to pull out of yourself in order to get through 5-minute rounds at that level is not something that the average person can really conceive of meaningfully. It's phenomenal to watch, and when you have some insight, and when you see the backstory of these two guys, it makes it even more exciting. So yeah, it was off the wall calling that fight.
Yeah, how close do you think he was to being finished in the fourth round? It was the fourth round, right? You were right there. How close was that?
He was close. I mean, I was in my head, I was getting ready to call the victory for Wakamatsu. It's that simple. That's how close I was. I was on the verge of calling a new champion. And it was only the first time that Senzo was defending the belt. So, you know, it's a huge swing in the pendulum.
Seriously, like, Senzo has that style that, man, it's just, I'm, you know, it's almost like that Michael Venom Page, that karate, like, smooth like a snake movement. I love it. Like, when I first saw a fight, I was like, who is this guy? And then next thing you know, he's fighting for the title and just destroys, oh man, the guy with the afro.
Mamoru, yeah.
Yeah, Mamoru, who is a beast too, tough guy.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's a former champion. The guy's he's a legend in his own right.
For sure, and he just dismantled him, I believe, in that fight.
Yeah, piece by piece. Watching how he moves, his footwork, his distance control, his outboxing, the angles he chooses with his hands. He's a former pro boxer. It's just, it's absolutely beautiful to watch how he's melded his boxing skills with MMA. Because you can't, you obviously can't just be a boxer and turn to MMA. You have to find a way to make the puzzle fit. The boxing skills fit into the MMA game, and he's done it in his own unique way, which is it's signatory of JMMA in my opinion.
Yeah, Senzo, I think that he's like one of the best flyweights in the world. Like I want to see him fight. In RIZIN, basically. I want to see him go to RIZIN and test himself because, a lot of, the Pancrase guys have been going over there, testing themselves, doing well, right? So I see Senzo should be one of those guys, he doesn't have to give up the belt, right? He could just go over there, take some fights. It's basically a super fight. So
that's right,
if you could choose somebody for him to fight in RIZIN, who would you choose? We want fireworks, so come on.
Senzo Ikeda in RIZIN.
Yes.
Jeez, at flyweight. You caught me off guard there. But it's a totally relevant question. That's a good one. Well, I'd actually like to hear from the listeners what they think, who they would like to see in that type of fight, bearing in mind, like you said, that Senzo, because of contractual obligations, he wouldn't have to give up the Pancrase belt. It would be very easy for him to go and take a fight and not affect his Pancrase status.
Exactly.
So what does everybody think?
I don't know what they think. I think that Senzo, he can go over there, and he doesn't seem like he's too like a very small flyweight either. Maybe he could go over there and fight at bantamweight, don't cut weight, because he's a tall, long guy, right, for the division.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I could see him fighting a lot of guys, right? I could see him fighting who was it, any guys in the tournament, to be honest with you, from last year.
Yeah. Well, the bantamweight tournament was at the end of last year, was pretty fierce. So Senzo would have his work cut out there. I mean, Yuya Wakamatsu, how about a rematch? There's a story already there.
Yeah.
Why
not?
why not do that in RIZIN? The two of them, they have an aura about them, a public attraction, and there's a story already there. That could be a good one.
For sure. I just want to see him go over there and put his talents on a big stage like RIZIN, right? And hey, what do you think about people calling RIZIN RIZIN? Where did that come from?
Oh no, that was just this. There was one guy they brought in for a commentary gig.
We're not gonna say his name.
No, we're not going to say his name. He embarrassed himself enough, and I have no wish to rub salt into the wound. But yeah, he said it. He was the only one to say it, and I think he just didn't do his homework.
Well, it's becoming a bad habit, though. I think I've heard many people, especially in like the States, when they talk about RIZIN, they don't call it RIZIN, they call it RIZIN.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's becoming a bad habit. I think, like, hey, if you're gonna say the promotion's name, you should probably say it the proper way, not.
Oh yeah. Especially if they're paying you.
Exactly.
Yeah. That bothered me a little bit, and that was one of the catalysts, as it were, in me contacting the RIZIN officials to say how about it. But yeah, that needs to be squashed. It's RIZIN.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now, Shintaro Ishiwatari, beast. He's a beast. Like, you cannot deny his fierceness, right? Now, what is he going to defend the belt soon?
Yeah, he'll be due to defend it. There's going to be a couple of things kicking off in the bantamweight division beforehand. But he will be defending his belt again, and that division is fierce. I mean, you have Masakatsu Ueda, who is just an outstandingly good, technical, intelligent grappler and fighter. And he's been, so close. Ishiwatari, though, I mean, this lad, he has the heart of a lion. You can't, if you're going to fight him, forget about taking his heart.
Yeah.
You know, if it's in your game plan to soften him up and go for the kill, forget about that. Nah, that's not going to work. He's far too focused, and he's far too sure of himself, and he's far too prepared for that shit.
Seriously, like he has beaten some of the best guys that, Pancrase has taken, brought over from other countries, and just, I don't know, just showed so much heart in his fights. It's like, I'm a huge fan of him. If you watch MMA and you don't watch this guy fight, like, you are missing out on some, like, fierce talent, like some
for sure
skills.
Yeah. I mean, anybody looking for striking, clinch, ground and pound, positioning skills, that's great. But if you're looking beyond that to what makes a champion, what's the difference between somebody who's physically strong or has good skills or has both, then he's the difference. He has the heart of a champion. Seriously,
like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, like, the way he strikes, the counters. It's almost like he freezes, and then all of a sudden there's a punch that comes out of nowhere. Like, almost every fight you see, kind of like his counters are like that. Like, he freezes, which means he lets the other guy throw, and he just kind of freezes, and then all of a sudden, boom, the counter comes. And it's just so fast. He's very quick for a bantamweight.
Yeah. He strikes every time with ill intent.
Yeah.
There's no automatic. I'll just throw a counter. The counter is always thrown with some malice behind it.
Yeah.
And that's what people they feel. They see that, they feel that.
It just shows you how good Horiguchi is.
Yes, yeah.
It just shows you what the level of Horiguchi's skills are.
Yeah.
When you think about Japanese MMA. When you think about MMA around the world, come on, you can't even just say Japanese MMA. Just MMA competition around the world at that division.
Mm-hmm.
They're up there with everybody else. You cannot, leave them out of the conversation at all.
Oh, for sure. Horiguchi is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And anybody who's not watching him, who doesn't have their eye on him, they're missing out.
You were at the New Year's Eve event last year at RIZIN. Can you explain the environment, the atmosphere? Because it was probably one of the best events in the history. I'm gonna say it, in the history of Japanese MMA. Am I wrong to say that?
That's a big claim. Because I've been here for 17 years, it's a bit more difficult for me to agree with that. But I see where you're coming from, because RIZIN has not only has it filled the void that Pride left, and arguably K1, but it's filled it in a way that has stayed true to the original Pride feel, which is not taking into consideration the unified rules and other promotions around the world. It does its own thing. It only cares about itself. And the Japanese fans they come first. The international fans come second. Make no mistake about that. And I think that's the key. That's what people love. The originality, the feel, that feel of big JMMA shows. RIZIN has managed to do that.
They are definitely diverse compared to any other show on the planet. The diversity of the matchups, not everybody's going to agree on the stuff that they're doing. Of course, even myself, I don't agree with everything, but I will respect that this is Japan. And I'm not living in Japan, so I can't say, if this fits. Because you just said they put on shows for the Japanese fans, and international fans are second. So if you are an international fan, you can criticize them, but you better respect what they're doing, because they're focusing on, they're not worried about you. They don't care about what you're saying.
They don't care about you. Yeah, you're right. And that's the beautiful thing of it. And that really harks back to the essence of Japan as an island nation, as a closed island nation, as it was for such a long time.
Now, if you could look back and you talk to somebody about those events that went down, what fight will you always remember? What fight would you go tell somebody to go watch?
From New Year?
Yes.
Well, I have a bit of personal investment in the Kanna Asakura versus Reina. Of course, that whole tournament was arguably built in a way for them to meet.
Yeah.
But personally, having watched the two of those fighters come from their roots and to fight for the championship at the end of the year, that's something special. For somebody who doesn't know the background of the two of them, their gyms, where they came from, how they trained, how they got to where they were, just from the technical point of view, Reina's striking, takedown defense, viciousness, versus Asakura's wrestling and newaza. It's a fascinating matchup, and it should be watched for any enthusiast of the sport.
For sure. I love that fight. I love that they went in. Of course, a lot of people had, Reina pegged as the winner already before the fight even started, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've been following them too myself. Over here, I live in Korea, so I watch what I can of, Japanese MMA. And Asakura, if you've followed her, she's been great. She's been dominant with her wrestling, right? She hasn't been finishing all her fights, but she's been controlling all of her fights, right? So you expect, okay, if she goes in there, she's going to try to, control her. But nobody expected, I don't think, it to end the way it ended. Did you expect that?
No, I didn't. I mean, we all knew that Reina's weak point, if there was one, was the submission game. However, she's been training very hard and showing a lot of improvement over at AACC gym here in Tokyo. And it seems that she's, she was difficult to submit.
Mm-hmm.
So for young Kanna to come out and do that, it sets a precedent, and it also sets up any future happenings that might go on in that division or between the two of them.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of hate going towards Asakura.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of people, they love Reina, man. Like, Reina is she has the look, you know how it is. She has the viciousness, she has the stand up. A lot of fans, rooting for her. And when she got put to sleep, it was just, people were shocked and there was a lot of hate. But hey, I liked Asakura's performance. I loved, I think Asakura is like, she has the skill set to be unstoppable. If she continues to improve what she does, and then throw in some of that, good boxing, she would be unstoppable. Serious.
For sure. Yeah, that's what makes that quite exciting. Her taking that championship, but at such a young age and with so much potential.
Yeah, she's 20.
Yep, she's in the eyes of the public in Japan, she's just become an adult.
Yeah. Well, hey, she's one adult that could kill you anytime she wants to, right?
Kick your ass, John.
Yeah, for sure. I ain't trying to go on do anything with her, right? Now, with Asakura, she has a fight coming up in on May 6th, right? The next RIZIN. She's going to face Melissa Karagianis. I think that's her name. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, to be honest, I haven't even started research on that yet because I've been focused on other things. I only know the name because of the press releases. I can't really give any meaningful comment other than I know that RIZIN are going to give her someone that's legitimate, but is still part of a bigger picture.
Yeah, of course. We know, like you said, the storyline is very important, and the New Year's Eve show is even more important. And to build that up, you do need to have, fights. And I'm pretty sure Reina's gonna get a fight soon, maybe on that same card, right?
That's what a lot of people didn't understand about the Yusuke Yachi versus Takanori Gomi fight. They didn't get that. I noticed that there were some comments flying around on the internet. Why is Gomi? He's old. He's washed up. He's not been doing well. Why throw him in there? It's dangerous. Blah blah blah. He's not good competition. Why not give Yachi someone else? And really, going back to what we were talking about earlier, JMMA doesn't give an F because it's about handing the torch over. And it's happened before in other weight divisions, in other organizations, in Pride, in Pancrase. And that's how it goes, If Gomi were to win, then he stamps his authority as the veteran. And Yusuke Yachi has still got a way to go. On the other hand, Yachi comes in there, he gets rocked, he looks in danger, but he comes back and finishes Gomi with a triangle choke. Then it's like the torch has been passed. This is the new breed. This is the next step, the next level. And prior to the fight, people outside of Japan might not get that. But watching it and seeing the result, it all comes true.
Well, I was one of those people, like I was one of those people that thought this matchup was kind of like, oh man, why would they put Gomi, who's on like a 6-fight, 7-fight losing streak, against
Right.
Yachi, who is
Of
the
all the
beast?
choices, of
Yeah,
all
of all the
options.
choices, exactly. And I've known Yachi since his PXC days, right? Like he's fought, legit guys like for a long time, and he's beaten a lot of them.
I called his first fights in Pancrase.
Yeah, and I was, kind of critical about that, and then I saw something that you wrote, and since I know that you have been there for so long, you know the sport, you know that what goes on, why they're doing certain things, and after you explain that, then I realized, okay, now I understand this matchup, why they're making this matchup, passing the torch.
Yeah.
And that's understandable. Like you said, but to be honest with you, if Gomi would have finished him with punches, I would have needed that adult diaper that you were talking about earlier.
You'd be like, oh my God, he's back.
For real. For real. Like
Kid.
I'm a huge Yachi fan. I love Yachi's style. I think he's the next. He's like Horiguchi. He can become that level, I think, of a star in the world. And that's what I expect from him. I don't expect any less. Like he is the guy, right? Yachi, you've seen him since his first, days in Pancrase, and now you see him like just lighting people up, easily, right?
Yeah.
Derek Cruikshank, you know, um, Kitaoka, right? Like just running through guys. What is your, do you think that he's gonna, go up another level? Do you think, is there another level for him to go up to, Yachi?
Yeah, Yachi's on fire. This is his time. He's been on fire for a while now, and he's riding the wave of confidence, the wave of the winning streak, and he's enjoying it. And yeah, this is his time. So yeah, we've definitely got some more to see from him before the sun goes down.
Do you think that they're going to have a lightweight tournament this time around, or is there any rumblings of a tournament coming up?
RIZIN?
Yes.
I'm not sure of the details there yet, but I know they have a number of different weight class tournaments in the works, and they'll be coming in order, in succession. So that's something to look out for.
Yeah, I love the new concept of like building up to the New Year's Eve with these tournaments, and then you crown like a new champion every year.
Yeah.
And then you start fresh and do it again.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to watch. It kind of keeps people engaged, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the New Year shows, the end of year shows here have always been a big thing, but to tie them in with weight divisions and tournaments is it gives a nice little period to a comma, a full stop. It's like this happened, now what?
Yeah,
which is nice. People like that. They like that turn of events in the martial arts.
Now, with the women's divisions, like RIZIN, they had just had the tournament, and they exposed a lot of people to the stars that are coming up. You got King Reina.
Yeah.
Was she put, has she been pushed too quickly, do you believe, in the level of competition that she faced last time? Or what do you think that's how the way that they should have done it?
Well, it depends what you mean by too quickly. Define too quickly. If you look at any of the upcoming Japanese MMA stars or hopes or talents here, they've always thrown them in too soon. They've always thrown them to the lions. It's been a part of the story. How are they going to deal with this sudden, huge challenge, and huge often in terms of a larger foreigner?
Yeah.
You know, so that in that respect, it's perfectly normal.
She is, in a division where she has to fight girls or women much bigger than her, right? She's kind of like in that in between. Like she can't like really go down to the featherweight, but she's not like an open weight, fighter. So it's a kind of a odd situation for her, right? I think she does have great potential, but then at some points I feel that she's like disinterested.
That's just her demeanor.
Is that just her demeanor?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like, I'll fight anyone, just shut up. It is as simple as that. It's not an act. That is how she is. She'll take whoever you give her.
What do you think about the Gabby Garcia situation that happened with the weight and a lot of hate that is going towards Gabby for taking that fight? But let's talk about the weight thing.
Right.
Was that unprofessional? What was that?
Well, it's funny because that whole thing is multifaceted. There's no one simple answer to that. Yes, she came in overweight. Yes, it was quite a bit overweight. But then you raise the questions: did they know? How far in advance did they know? And then you start to open up some,
cans of worms.
Yeah, or well, critical debate, as it were, on the matter. Yeah, I mean, ultimately she had to get on her knees and apologize to Japan and the world in the ring. But it was more than that. There was more going on than that. Gabby does receive a lot of hate. And I suppose anybody who is controversial does. And especially Gabby, because she stands out. And it's so hard to find matches for her.
Yeah.
Realistically, I mean, if you're looking at physically equal or even matchups, it's a tough call, right? Nobody knows about her background with cutting weight, with hormones. That's something that she doesn't make public. But the problem is she responds to critics on social media, Twitter and whatever. And not just critics, but she'll respond to anybody, the average Joe who's having a pop at her. And that to me is what brings the whole situation a little bit out of focus.
For sure. Like, yeah, you gotta, if you're at that level, I guess, if you're out in the public, you cannot interact with Joe Schmo. Even like me, I'm not even out in the public really, and I'm barely known, but if some guy comments something on what I wrote, usually if it's something negative, I will not comment back at all. It's just like, what's the point?
Engaging people like that is often they're just looking for a response because they're sad and lonely. You have to remember that there's keyboard warriors take all shapes and forms, and I think she's one of a few fighters who do herself a disservice by responding to those, when really she should find a good outlet in English to tell her story and get things a little bit clear.
For sure. Do you think we will ever see her again in the ring?
Yeah, it's very possible. When it was all kicking off and announced that she's going to miss weight, I thought that was it. But she made her apology, and Takada-san responded saying that, we appreciate your reflection on the matter, and we'll think about it. It's very possible we'll see her.
I liked how they played with the media during that little situation that happened with the weight, because they didn't announce their decision right away. They were like, "Oh, we're just gonna wait a little bit and wait, and then like right before we'll announce it." So they kind of pulled and basically drew a lot of more attention to the event because of that situation. Very smart, thing to do, I think, if they did it intentionally.
Yeah. And if you watch the video closely, as they're making the announcement, Gabby's already weighed in, and she's like, "What? What is it? What's the problem? What is it? What's going on?" Which suggests some skullduggery, as it were.
For sure, it is. Hey, that's what promoting is about.
Yeah,
50% skullduggery.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a fair fraction of skullduggery involved.
For sure. Like, now, let's go back to Pancrase, because that's your home. Studio Coast. You've been at the Differ Ariake. Am I saying it right?
Yep.
Yeah, you've been there for a while. They've been there for so long, and then now they just moved to a new place.
Mm-hmm.
What's your feeling about this new place? Is it better? Is it more advanced?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Well, this is actually super exciting, because the old venue, Differ Ariake, was host to a number of other MMA shows, Muay Thai, kickboxing, and other underground shows. It's been a martial arts venue for a long time now. In fact, I fought there 7-8 years ago. But it was announced that the building itself was coming down, which is quite normal here in terms of the earthquake standards and laws they have, regulations they have for that stuff. So there was a couple of other shows that said, right, we'll still do a couple of more events early 2018, but we used it as a jump off point at the end of the year, and we found Studio Coast, which is better known for the name Ageha. Ageha it's a big club, basically. It's a nightclub, although they have other live music events there. In fact, my daughter's even performed dancing there. So it was kind of strange when we knew we were going to be moving there, because it's a different setup. It's not really a fight venue. There's other rooms that you can use, so it changes the dynamic of, other events, tournaments, amateur things that you could put on the same day. So there were originally some concerns about space, but having seen it and how at home it feels, with a really good view of the cage from pretty much everywhere, it's turned out to be excellent. And because it's an audio venue, the sound is incredible.
The sound is very key. If people do not know, during a fight, the sounds is what makes it's like a movie. Like if you go watch a movie, like let's say a horror movie, and there's no background music, there's no sound to that soundtrack to that movie, you're not going to get scared, right? It kind of gets you in that mood. So sound is very important.
Yeah.
And I wish more promotions would understand that, and not, try to create these big, huge arena venues when they can't really fill them up, and kind of go with the smaller, more intimate, venues and put on a better show, right? So
I think interesting you say that, because the CEO, Mr. Sakai, he was originally used to putting on a whole different bunch of shows, including pro wrestling. So he knows how to fill venues and the right kind of venues. So this is nothing new to him. So he's always got these new ideas and always moving forward and pushing into different territories for Pancrase. And that's another thing that I feel really proud to be part of. And this move to Studio Coast is just a small piece of that puzzle. It's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. Now we're talking about the women's division. Pancrase, they also have women's divisions. They actually have a partnership that they are doing with Invicta, bringing Invicta fighters over to face off against the women in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
What's the title situation over there? Is there going to be title fights coming up soon? Because it seems like all of the titles are vacant right now.
Yes. With Rin Nakai moving on, and the whole Josh Kaka boom. The Josh Kaka, for those who don't know, is the women's MMA. The whole boom with that out here has opened up a bunch of opportunities. So yeah, you expect to see some very interesting title fights in the women's divisions, fly and bantamweight divisions in the near future.
One thing that I noticed that's different about in Japan also is that the promotions are working together. You got Pancrase doing shows with Deep. You got Pancrase fighters going over to RIZIN and fighting, back and forth. They have very good synergy. And I think that is key to, the word that I use is the rebirth of, the MMA scene, I guess, for the international viewers.
Uh-huh.
How important is that? You're like right in the middle of it. You're in the thick of it. Like how does the fighters feel about this, exchange of talent?
Well, they love it, of course, because it gives them more opportunities. I think the difference now is they're keeping their eyes on the top promotions like Pancrase, the promotions that feed the UFC, the promotions that have limelight that would give them exposure for RIZIN or whatever. So for them, it's fantastic.
But what about for you? Like you being somebody that's there on the ground, how has that affected, the scene, the MMA scene in Japan?
Right. Well, it links to the same point, really, because the scene here was always healthy. It was always progressive. It was always passionate. But now they see links to foreign promotions, Guam, Australia, Canada, Brazil, America, Russia, Europe. There's more pathways for them to choose from. So that just makes it richer.
All right, before I let you go, Stewart, I want to get some, opinions from you. You're an expert. Who are the young up and coming talent that we don't know about yet? Not Reina, not Asakura, who are the girls and the guys that we should be looking out for in 2018?
Okay. Well, not young and unknown or upcoming, but Alan Yamaniha, he fights in the bantamweight in Pancrase. Now he lost in the closing seconds, basically against Masakatsu Ueda to a submission. He is still a force in the bantamweight division. Keep your eye on him. He's not going away. Pancrase 294, which is March coming up, the next show coming up. Yoshinori Horie, he's taken on Issei Tamura. Tamura's a UFC veteran. But Horie, he fights under Team Alliance. So his head coach is Tsuyoshi Kosaka, TK. Anybody that knows anything about him knows that he knows his shit. Poirier, he's won all 6 of his professional bouts so far.
That's the main event, right?
Yes, yeah. He's shown a lot of promise. He's knocked out 3 guys, 2 of those in the first round. He's only 22 years old, so he's another kind of Wakamatsu type prodigy. He doesn't look like a flash in the pan. He looks like the real deal. So keep an eye on him for sure in the featherweight division. I'll be calling that fight with Guy Delamo, who is a featherweight fighter. So it's going to be quite exciting because he always gets a little bit more amped up with the featherweight fights. You know, you can notice it because it's his division, which is a cool thing about, another cool thing about calling fights with him. So this is a huge step up in competition for him, taking on Issei Tamura. This will be Tamura's 20th fight. So, you know, he's been around the block. He made his name in the MMA world at UFC 144, a comeback win over a Chinese opponent. This is going to be a good fight, and Poirier is one to watch. If he wins this, even if he loses, depending on how he loses, it's another one to watch for sure.
Who do you think will be a champion this year? What fighter do you see? It doesn't matter what division. What fighter do you see becoming a champion? Not a repeat champion, but a new champion.
A new champion. That's a tough one. Because in the lightweight division, Takasuke Kume doesn't look like he's going anywhere.
Yeah, he's shocked me because I thought that he had plateaued a few years back.
Right.
And then he just he got a second wind in his career, and now he's just destroying guys. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think I used the wrong terminology there. I say he's not going anywhere in the sense that if he goes anywhere, he's going to go to the UFC or something like that.
Yeah.
New champion.
It's hard to say. There's too many names in your head, huh?
Yeah, there's too much going on. I can't answer that with any confidence.
For sure. Hey, one more thing I want to talk about is my favorite fighter in Pancrase, Tsunabe. The strawweight champion. He's a man that defies all odds.
Right.
He's a man that is, I think he's 41 years old.
Yeah.
And goes in there with the young bucks. I think basically the kids that are half his age.
Yeah.
He just puts down that old man ass beatings all day, right?
Yeah. And he doesn't look. He's not showing any signs of slowing down. He's defending his belt every time with the vigor that he defended it the first time, and that's years down the line. So I mean, he got a kickboxing tournament matchup in RIZIN, but that means nothing for his Pancrase legacy. You do want to tune in for his title defense in the strawweight division. I mean, the guy is fierce. He's violent, and he'll use any means to win the fight.
Yeah, he's a guy that he could take punishment and come back and finish the fight. Like a Senzo.
He's another one like Senzo, like Ishiwatari. Those guys are a different breed. Yeah, there's a marked difference in level between those guys and the other guys in the division, and that's what's so exciting.
I wish he would go to the UFC and go fight in the flyweight division. Just since he's older guy, I think before he retires, I just hope that he does go there. I just want to see him in the UFC cage competing, He's
Yeah.
just a wish of mine. I love that guy. That guy is like,
Right.
he gives hope to the older men out there that's trying to do things like a younger man.
He does, yeah. It's now or never for him, and I get what you're saying about his vibe, because he's from Okinawa. He's not a city boy. You know, he doesn't train with all the guys up here. He's not all over Instagram after training sessions and eating yakiniku and stuff with all the boys up here. He's down in Okinawa just doing his thing. And he comes up here and he just dismantles anybody that they put in front of him. That's what makes him, you know, a little bit more exciting, because he's I guess country boy is the wrong word, but you know, he's an outsider as such, really.
Mm-hmm. All right, Stewart, thank you for your time, man. It was great talking to you. I'm pretty sure whoever's listening to this or whoever listened to this podcast, they're going to gain a lot of knowledge of what's going on in Japan, and hopefully they get you on that commentating spot for RIZIN, because I don't know why they would not. You know what I mean? Why would they fly in a guy when you got a guy there that is fully capable of doing the job better than probably anybody that knows anything about MMA? You know what? I don't understand, but thanks for coming on, and hopefully we could do this again, and you know, this year or next year or whenever you have time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to talk about JMMA. We touched the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more we can talk about. So yeah, I hope we can do a round two another time.